and I'm going to say that one more time here shortly. But thank you for joining us. If you would go ahead in the chat and just tell us exactly, where you're at this evening, kind of what area you're looking at, have you purchased a home before, etc. We love active participation, and we're definitely going to take time to follow up later with each and every single one of you to make sure that we're getting to know your individual situation. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. So welcome, everyone. My name's Cole Simmons, Senior Loan Officer with Edge Home Finance, and I've been doing this for 13 years. So welcome all. I am a broker. I'm here with my partner in crime, Laura Holbert, who is your boots on the ground and local expert right there. Laura, hello, and how are you?
I'm great. My name is Laura Holbert, and I'm a real estate broker. And we love helping our first-time buyers and our second-time buyers and our forever buyers. We're out
Wonderful.
to hit the ground with you guys and find exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, and you kind of saw the intro slide. If you didn't, I'll just catch up really quick. This is, geared towards the most information possible here over the next 45 to 55 minutes, roughly. We're going to try to educate you on everything that we know, but we're going to also come back around to go ahead and ensure that we get everybody's unique situation. You're going to want to make sure to comment any questions you have along the way so we can circle back around and basically cover those questions now, but also cover them later on. Everybody's going to get a copy of these slides and these notes. And so really one of my big things is we can get into all the details today on specific loan products, the process, etc. But overall, we want to kind of work through scenarios with you and kind of explain, who we're helping, what types of people, what kinds of folks, what types of situations have people found themselves in when it comes to lending, when it comes to real estate, to make sure that this process is not super intimidating, to make sure that you have the confidence to say, you know what, I thought it was going to be a really hard thing. And my situation might not have been perfect, but these folks collaborated with me. We worked together as a team. And now I can confidently tell my family and friends that I've been through this process, and they should definitely have a team behind them too. Because the goal is to have clients for life and to make this as seamless as possible. So Laura, I think you'd agree.
Oh, absolutely. And that's proven because anytime we meet someone, if they're selling or buying, they're coming back again. It happens time and time again. And he and I both know we've worked with the same clients who they're first time buyers. Now they're out buying their second VRBO, or we have another buyer who bought a house, sold that one, bought another house, moved to Pennsylvania. Now she's getting ready to sell that house and come back to California.
Come back to California. Yeah.
Yep. And so she counts on us to do her job no matter where she goes in the United States. And we truly appreciate the sincerity that our buyers do give us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we're both 100% referral based, So this is educating people, getting to know them, getting to know their situation, and truly growing their wealth for them and with them throughout time. I can say that I've had clients that started off buying their first home. Now they're buying investment properties, commercial properties, small business, that they've been, calling me to say, hey, do you do small business loans? Stuff like that. We do it all. We actually, from the lending side, I'm in all 50 states for that matter. And so I work for you, the client. It's one of the things that I pride myself in is I don't have to push a particular bank's products. My job is to find the best product for your situation. So I am going to shop 300 different lenders currently at the end of the day. I know the slide's going to tell you 150, but that's not including commercial. To make a long story short, if there's a solution for you, we're going to give you the best solution and also a game plan for those that, hey, maybe we need to work on credit. Maybe we need to figure out, exactly what's going on. Get a letter of explanation for your unique situation. You're always going to have a game plan and a timeline, so you're never left in the dark regardless. Laura, can you go to my next slide for me?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. No, we're keeping it casual, guys. So, anybody that's, first time home buyer, let us know kind of what you're looking to accomplish here, questions you have, and then please make sure that you take the time to book an appointment with us so we can really get to know you on an individual basis. This is pretty, just broad, general educational information this evening. And then we're going to continue to drill down with you specifically. So we look forward to meeting you after this presentation, and you're going to get all the notes and all the slides once again. So don't be a stranger. don't be afraid to put those questions in the chat box. Please interact. Like I said, as you could probably tell, we're just trying to keep this casual. We want to get to know you in the end as well. So next slide for me, if you would, pretty please.
My mouse isn't working too well, so sorry about that.
Well, you're just fine. We've got plenty of time here. So you can go to my next slide for me. Yeah, so basically I'm a mortgage broker. I've been through every banking model there is. Retail, I know you're seeing Rocket commercials during the Super Bowl. That would be a retail bank. But I really enjoy the broker side now because I truly get to work for the client. I get to shop for the best deal. I get to make banks compete for your business and to cater to your unique scenario once again. So if there's a solution out there, we're going to find it. And Laura and her team, Cheryl, shout out to you. I know she's on this call too, but they work together as partners. So thank you both for all the help you give us. But Laura, you can go to the next one for me.
Yeah, I don't know why that's, oh, okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, so why work with a broker? Obviously tons of loan options, but we're trying to get that pre-approval letter. The first step to buying a home or buying a property is what we call pre-qualification. That is where we're just filling out basic information that you already know. We're taking a peek at a credit score. Do you have any money to put down? What type of a loan are you looking for? What type of property are you trying to buy? It's very informal in the sense of we're just having a conversation. We don't have hard hits on the credit report. As an example, that's one of the objections we get a lot. We do soft pulls these days, and so you don't have to worry about it actually impacting your credit. We want to just get a snapshot of where you're at so we can let you know this is where we're at today. This is where we want to go, and here's how we get there, if you will. I answer my phone 24/7. I really do. You can ask Laura. Laura, have you ever not been able to get a hold of me?
I have never, ever
Okay.
not
All
been
right.
able to, I mean, I have called him at 11:30 at night and it's, he answers the telephone. I mean, the only time he does not answer the telephone is when he's on an airplane. So
Well, there's that. I did
kudos to
pull
you.
over a few times at a rest stop, and thank God my truck, I could plug my laptop in because that pre-approval letter had to go out. So we are dedicated, to say the least. But
Absolutely.
as you can see, I really enjoy helping people, helping them for a lifetime. I judge myself on, are you coming back? Are you telling your friends and family about what we do and how we do it uniquely to educate, but also work hard for you on your behalf. Go ahead, Laura. Next slide. We're good to go.
So again, my name is Laura Holber and I am a broker owner of Team Integrity Realty. Cheryl Shadden, she's also a broker owner. We work together as a team. And if you can't get a hold of me, you can get a hold of her. We're either out in the field or doing paperwork. No matter what we're doing, we always take your phone call. We're there for you from start to finish. We're going to explain it from step one to step or A to Z. And for some buyers, we love walking you through each step. If you don't understand something, we want you to ask. We usually give you a package and we want you to go through it. Obviously, it's a lot of information. And that's why we're there, is just to answer your questions along the way. We don't try and throw too much at you at, the first 30 minutes when we're meeting you, because you're not going to remember it. So we just try and take you step by step. Pre-approval, let's find out what your criteria is. Let's make our list of what we're looking for. Now we're going to go start shopping. Once we find a house, then we're going to have another bunch of steps to do, but we're only going to take it one step at a time throughout the whole process.
Pre-approval, by the way, and I know we saw that word on the last slide. We start with a pre-qualification, which in layman's terms, it's conversation. Pre-approval is when I've looked at all the documentation required to give Laura and Cheryl a pre-approval letter, letting you know exactly what you're eligible for. One of the things you'll find these days, if you're just walking into the bank off the street, they really don't have the buy-in. They don't work together as a team with realtors. You might just be a stack or another number on the desk, if you will. And so what we do really well is we coordinate, walking you through exactly what your payments are going to be, giving you a price range. Are we including principal and interest, but also taxes and insurance? A lot of banks will send people out there, say, oh, go find a home. But it's not too much fun to sit in the home once you buy it with the lights off, for that matter. So we want to make sure that it's within your budget. It makes sense for you. And when you make an offer, I can afford this place. And I can grow a family here. I can, make profit if it's an investment property. there shouldn't be so much guesswork these days. And it really comes down to, do you care about getting to know your client? Are you looking at them as a person or a number? And I think that, between Cheryl, Laura, and myself, we look at folks as people and we get to know their story. And that's why, I mean, we're 100% referral based for a reason. We are definitely trying to invest in you, and we hope that you'll invest in us. So, like I said, make sure you book an appointment with us after this. We'll get to know you individually. But Laura, you can next slide for me if you would. Here's the big why. The clients, once again, the folks, the real people. These are scenarios. Laura, go ahead and speak to this one.
Okay, so Chris and Natasha, we helped their first-time buyers, military family, and actually, Natasha's mom, we helped her into a home as well, and actually, Natasha's brother, we helped put into a home. This is their first-time home. They kind of knew what they wanted. Their budget was limited. We looked at not very many homes because when they saw their very first home, they thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we're looking for. But you can't go out and buy the first home that you see because there's a lot more out there, right? So, okay, well, let's go ahead and keep on looking. Well, we showed them other houses and it just wasn't right. Well, guess what happened? That first house that they really loved, it ended up going into escrow with someone else. So they were very disappointed. And we always tell them, it's okay, we'll find another house, even better than the last one. Well, about a week later, that buyer that was in escrow on this home that they absolutely loved fell out of escrow. So we jumped on it. We put our offer in. This time they didn't wait signing on the dotted line, and we got into escrow, and it's exactly what they were looking for. As a matter of fact, I just saw Natasha here a couple weeks ago, and they're just so thrilled with their home and the things that the kids can do in the backyard. So it's just amazing to be able to help people like Chris and Natasha and their kids. I mean, look at the smiles on those kids' faces. They were all sharing one bedroom, living in
Wow,
their mom's
I
home.
didn't know that one actually.
Yeah. And so the kids were so excited to be able to have their own bedroom.
Funny
So
fact too, and by the way, we just came off of Veterans Day. If there's anybody in here that is a veteran or active duty, thank you so much for your service. If you could do me a favor, just comment in the chat, give us a wave. That would be huge. Funny little side story. I met Laura and Cheryl the first time through a VA transaction. I specialize in VA loans. It's where I got my career start. And so, this was the situation where this person already had a VA loan. As a matter of fact, they were trying to buy another house and they didn't know that they could have two VA loans out at once. It's what we call second tier entitlement. So I was able to meet Cheryl and Laura, and the rest is kind of history. We just kind of clicked, and I'm so grateful for that one and all the veterans that I've helped, and grateful for you all if you are or know somebody in the military. It's a big deal to me to educate and kind of debunk a lot of the myths, if you will.
absolutely.
This is the famous Stephanie. We call her the famous Stephanie because she's one of our favorite clients. She's a character, to say the least, but she's also, we've helped her on multiple transactions and getting ready to help her on another transaction. She makes the transition from Pennsylvania to California again. Is their daughter staying out there, Laura? I
Yeah,
think
so
she is, right?
they moved out of California to move back to Pennsylvania because their daughter wanted to go to Penn State. So that's where she's been for 3 years. She's gonna probably graduate. Well, she's actually graduating in June.
Yep.
She's a star in school, and so it's their only child, and so they'll just go wherever she goes. But she wants to come back to California down in Oceanside. So we do expect to hear, well, we did hear from them a couple months
Yep.
ago. They said that they do have to wait until she gets almost through her school just because of the cost of school and everything, but they cannot wait to leave the snow in Pennsylvania to come
We're
back to
looking forward to
California.
it. I was going to say, and it's always a good time, to say
Oh
the
yeah.
least.
Oh yeah.
I will say this too on Stephanie. Her situation was one where, she called me and was very nervous and said, "Oh, my credit, it's not perfect." And we took a look at it, and between us and the fence post guys, she was in the 600s, and we have banks that go down to the 400s and 500s, believe it or not. And so people think that they've got to have a perfect credit score, 800 or higher. They better have 20% down, or else there's just no chance. And we do 100% financing. We have down payment assistance. We have 3% down, 5% down. That's something that is such a myth out there that you have to have everything in line right now. And we're going to judge you by God if you have a 799, and that's so far from the truth. In fact, the majority of my clients are in the 600 and 700 bracket. We do loans in the fives once again, and as low as 4. So if it makes sense, and we've set you up to be financially responsible, life happens, right? So we want to make sure that you can afford it, the payment makes sense for you and your family, but we're not here to beat people up for when life's little mistakes happen. It's just about learning your story and being able to tell it to the bank so they can make sense of it too.
And
So
we've also had,
this slide says it all, but go ahead.
yeah, no, I was just going to say, we've also had some buyers where they've been turned down because their debt to income ratio was too high. So you can go ahead and explain how that works.
A lot of main banks, right? Wells Fargo, Bank of America, I mean, Chase, you walk into, a lot of people think, well, I'll just walk into the bank that has my checking account. Capital One's another example. They actually shut their mortgage department down because their credit windows are very narrow. And so that's where the myth kind of perpetuates, if you will. But there's actually hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of banks out there with much more expansive guidelines, much more flexibility, different terms for everyone's situation once again. And so as a broker, I get to pick the best of the best for you. I get to give you options, educate you on those options, and help you make that decision so you understand what's happening. You're not just signing a piece of paper and then your rate adjusts 3 years later. 2008 happened for a reason. And then, my goal is to make sure that you know exactly what you're signing up for, what's the worst that could happen, what's the highest this payment could get. We want to make sure that we are having those conversations very early on and throughout that process. So that when you're getting those keys on closing day, there's no, I mean, it's pure joy and excitement, as it should be. And you're seeing
Absolutely.
in all these photos, these people are smiling pretty big for a reason. It's because it's handled correctly with a team of people behind you.
Absolutely. A lot of first time buyers and then second time buyers in this in the same picture.
Yep. And so, yeah, will you be next? And we say that because we love helping and meeting new people. I was just having this conversation before the webinar with Laura. I was saying, after doing this for 13 years, I'm one of the people that I feel pretty lucky to still love what I do. And it's because every scenario is different. And so I encourage you to fill out the link. Please make that appointment with us because we want to meet you. We want to figure out what your scenario is so we can give you that game plan, and hopefully you'll be on one of these slides someday as one of our buyers, because this is what we love to do. And so if you can have a conversation, we can give you a game plan.
And there's obviously, no pressure.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing.
Even if you're
Yeah.
not ready now, it could be 3 months or 6 months or a year from now. We just want to be able to help and guide you throughout the process, no matter when you're ready.
Yeah, and I've had clients that I've worked with for 3 years before we found the right place for them. So this is not a we have to go buy next week. I do have clients all the time that are ready to buy right now. But, it is something to me to where if you're not comfortable, I'm not comfortable. And that's you don't run a 100% referral based business making people feel uncomfortable and confused. We'll put it that way.
Right.
And so this is kind of just a rundown of some of the things that we're going to be covering, obviously. Please ask your questions. I see we've got a quick question here. Southern California. So I'm located in Palmer Lake, Colorado. Laura and Cheryl are on the ground there in Southern California. I'm in 50 states from a lending perspective. And I do travel to California. And so, but I physically am sitting in Colorado right now. That's where my home base is, if you will.
And I am in Riverside County. We work in Orange County, LA County, San Diego County. Currently, I'm in Murrieta, Temecula area, but we do cover all of Southern California. Great question. Thank you.
Great question there. So, Laura, next slide for me, if you would. So the big journey broken down, this is, and we're going to try to make this as simple as possible. I like to break it down in pre-qualification, pre-approval, under contract, closing. It's the main 4. Pre-qualification is just literally the conversation, kind of seeing what you're eligible for based on the information you provide. I'm going to do a deep dive with you, clarify any questions you have 24/7 via text, call, email. I'm going to bounce the idea off Laura as far as what inventory is available. She's going to help you select those homes. And Laura, clarify for me, do you set them up on a home search from day one, or is it we need a pre-approval letter first?
No, no, we will take care of that. Cheryl is usually really great at what she'll do is she'll say, okay, what is it that you're looking for? You're looking for a 3-bedroom, you're looking for a 5-bedroom, a home, a pool home, are you looking for a condo? You're looking for a mobile home on some property, or what is it that you're looking for? So she will go ahead and get your information. She will set up criteria for you, which will hook you up to the MLS. And the benefit to that is that you can find homes on Zillow and Redfin and all of those other places on the internet. But what happens is when you're hooked up to the MLS, it's coming straight to you as soon as any listing agent lists their property. Zillow, it does get there eventually. It could take, 3 to 4 hours, half of a day. But we have clients who, they've been shopping for a while and they've already seen everything. So they're just waiting for that right house to pop up and they got it in their email and they're saying, hey, we think this might be the house. Can we go look at it? So we'll say, yeah, sure. Let me call the listing agent and let's go ahead and set up an appointment. And that way, you could be the first one out there. I just had one that we listed and the buyer's agent, they've looked at a lot of properties and the buyer is a VA buyer. And the one thing that he was looking for was a big backyard. And it's really hard to find, any property these days that has that extra big backyard. This house happened to be on a cul-de-sac, so it's 12,000 square foot lot, and the buyer absolutely loved the property. He saw it the first day it hit on the market, made an offer.
Yep.
So there you go. We entered into escrow today.
And
So
yeah, and that's
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as far as having a buyer's agent too, I get inquiries all the time from folks that have been to Zillow.com and they found the perfect house. And then you find out Zillow's got about a 5-day lag on this particular property and it's gone. And there's nothing more disheartening. And so that's why it is important to upfront, Cheryl and Laura are going to set you up on a home search that meets your criteria. So we take the stress, we take the overwhelm out of it. This is something that's going to be actually within your price range, your budget. That pre-approval, that stage, once I've, had the pre-qualification talk with you, we've kind of gone over rough numbers. You're going to send me documentation required to get your loan approved by the bank. But it's also going to allow me to verify truly what you're eligible for and not guess. That's the other thing that's horrifying is you're going to get a lot of banks that are going to offer you a pre-qualification. And if you ever get a pre-qualification letter instead of a pre-approval letter, definitely continue to ask questions, but definitely come to me to get clarification on that. Because to be honest with you, there's nothing more disheartening for an agent either. And Laura and Cheryl, after they've driven around and shown people 30 homes, to figure out they're not actually qualified because the other bank didn't do the math correctly. We get a lot of those folks too. If you've ever been in a situation, that I've been denied for a loan and it's super disheartening. You thought you were approved, now you're not. It's something that we can, doing our jobs correctly and doing our diligence up front. It is my responsibility that if I issue you a pre-approval letter, which is good for a full year, so you are ready to go, you can go out there and find what you're looking for on your pace and your time. You know what those payments are. You're going to qualify at the end of the day. You don't have to stress out about it. You have us at your disposal to also negotiate for you, show you the right home, find the right home, offer, negotiate on your behalf. Closing costs, another thing that we're going to cover here briefly in just a moment, but you better have a buyer's agent that is advocating to get those costs paid by the seller. Because if you just go right to who's on Zillow.com, Laura, you can testify this. Who are they really working for? The seller.
Oh, no, they're working for Zillow, they're working for Redfin, and they can open up a door, but Cheryl and I do way more than just unlock a door. Way more.
Yeah, way more. And I know that you've probably seen the news as far as, these really cheap realtors that are doing things for 1%. Laura, can you just elaborate a little bit on that as far as the
Sorry,
disadvantages to not having an expert?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I was
Yeah,
writing
the
down
whole
a mess.
1% commission thing. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
the
yeah,
realtors that do things for super cheap.
yeah,
It really
so
applies more to the selling side, but we kind of get into the weeds on, buyers not being represented correctly either. correct?
So basically, 1% agents, those are your discount agents. And, whether it's the listing side or the buying side, how much are they really going to do for you? How much are they really going to negotiate for you? We negotiate hard for you, and that's not just the price when you're making an offer. It could be on um, closing costs. We'll try and get the seller to pay your closing costs. There's a lot of creative ways that we can do that. When it comes to a home inspection, we're going to make sure that you get the proper home inspection. We're there for the home inspections to make sure. I was on one today and it wasn't going too well. So I told the listing agent that we're going to have to reschedule because they did not have the water turned on. Um, they had some electrical issues, and I didn't want my buyer to have to pay for a second home inspection just to figure out if this house was going to be right for them. So we're there every step of the way. But the 1% agents, they would probably just say, yeah, call a home inspector and set up an appointment, and it's on combo, so just let yourself in. We don't do that. We're there. We're there the whole time through
You
every
have your
process.
advocate, you have your team behind you. And that's the same thing. You're not calling a bank at a call center where you're just another number. You're put on hold for 3 hours and you can't make your offer in time. So that home goes by the wayside. Laura's going to also know the best home inspectors in the area. Laura and Cheryl will recommend the best of the best. So that, not only are we getting an appraisal to figure out, hey, is the home worth what I'm paying for it? But is there anything lying underneath that I really should know about that might not be a thing today, but it's going to be a huge thing in 5 to 10 years? So it is truly a team effort to make sure that you're represented to the highest capacity and that you're never alone throughout this process.
Right. Absolutely. Were you finished with the slide? I'm sorry, Cole.
Yeah, no, we're just fine. So debt to income ratio, really simple. Money going in your checking account, aka any employment, Social Security, retirement, VA disability, self-employed income, you know, versus money going out. Money spent on credit cards, auto loans, installment loans, personal loans, child support, alimony, and all the things, basically making sure that on top of the new mortgage payment, which will include principal, interest, homeowners insurance, property taxes, and private mortgage insurance, if we're not putting the full 20% down, that is something that we're going to look at all those numbers in finite detail down to the penny to make sure that after all of your bills are paid, including the new mortgage, you can afford to still enjoy life for that matter. We have a higher threshold than most major banks. So we can, fit more folks into homes, but we also want to make sure we're covering that payment with you. So you acknowledge with us, hey, yeah, that sounds great. I can afford that. That is comfortable for my family and our budget. And I'm excited to go out there and make an offer at this price range. We have to know all that stuff up front. And debt to income ratio is one of the major things we're looking at from day one. And what banks are looking at, what underwriters those are the folks that look at the loans and approve them at the bank. They're looking at that as probably one of the first major factors to make sure you can actually afford it, number one. Number two, right here, is down payment and closing costs. People say VA loans a great example, or USDA loans in rural areas. It's 100% financing. So that must mean it's free. It's certainly not free. You have closing costs. There's always a cost when it comes to title companies. Your first, title work that's done for every single transaction to make sure you have clean and clear title, to make sure there's no liens against the seller that you're going to be responsible for. We want to make sure all that stuff's cleared up. The title company is a big piece of it. You're also going to pay for your first year's worth of homeowners insurance at closing traditionally. You're going to have an appraisal. You're going to have, in some areas, a pest inspection. So there's all kinds of these little costs. To make it simple for tonight's discussion, I'm looking at around 3% of your purchase price. So 500,000, 500,000, you're looking at roughly $15,000 in closing costs. Now, if you're going out there with no representation and you go right to the listing agent, they'll say, yeah, we'll give it to you for a little bit less, but you got to pay your closing costs. I'd rather keep the 15,000 in your pocket so you can spend that money on your new home. And that is something that Laura and Cheryl are by far the best of the best when it comes to negotiating that on your behalf. I've even had situations where they've negotiated more than 3%, and we can use that extra money to pay off credit cards, to pay off portions of an auto loan, to take care of an installment debt on your behalf. And that's the seller that's paying that. So it is another huge advantage to having folks that know the fine print and negotiate these types of things every day. So you're not left in the cold and trying to come up with $15,000 in 30 days, which is the average contract. We're averaging about 21 days to close right now, but I will say, that's a pretty tight window if there's surprises that pop up along the way.
Yeah,
Laura, would
so
you agree with all that?
no, I would totally agree with you. And I just wanted to throw in, here's a great example when you're talking about closing costs. So Cole and I have been working with Andrew. Actually, Cheryl and I have been working with him for quite some time. And Cole got him pre-approved quite some time ago. And his dad is helping him out a little bit to
Yep.
qualify for a
Yep.
loan. We finally found him a home. His budget was $450, and we shopped a little bit high, knowing that we could always try and find one that's been on the market for some time, and we'll just go ahead and negotiate down low. So we ended up making an offer. Well, first dad said, yeah, it's 475. What about 450? And I said, well, doesn't 425 sound better? And he's like, well, yeah, that'd be great if we could get it for that. And so we made an offer 425. On top of that, Cheryl and I asked for $12,000 towards his closing costs. So he's going
And we got it.
FHA, and we got it. So he has to come up with his down payment of 3.5%, but he's got $12,000 to cover probably almost every penny for his
Yep.
closing costs.
Yep. It's going to come out to right on the money, as a matter of fact. And so that's something that if you don't have somebody that's explaining this to you in advance, for an FHA loan, they say it's 3.5% down. And technically and traditionally, yes, it is. But you have this other thing called closing costs that if you're not having a team advocate for you, you're technically looking at roughly 6.5% down. And nobody's prepared for that. So that's something that we're going to cover up front and be there the whole time with you. So income calculation, debt calculation. What types of income can we use? You're going to get all this stuff. We look for 2 years of employment consistently at the end of the day, excuse me. But at the end, if you're doing just VA disability, I've got clients that just receive VA disability, Social Security, retirement, we throw that in there too. This is all stuff that counts. And I've got folks that have seasonal jobs. They work at the ballpark during, the actual season, and then that's it. Well, that's variable income. If you're going to a normal, regular, big four bank, I say Wells Fargo, Chase, banks like that, they don't have guidelines that support that stuff. They stay away from all that. If it's money in your pocket that you're able to pay your mortgage with, we want to include as much as possible. We also want to make sure it makes sense, which is where we go over to the other side of this slide, which is our debt calculation. We want to make sure that all expenses are counted for. And that's why I always tell people there's just so many verification systems these days that the bank's going to find out either way. And so total transparency and just being honest with, this is the situation I'm in. Would I qualify? How much could I qualify for now versus if we worked out a couple of things, figured out a couple of things in my credit report, would I qualify for more? We're going to have all those conversations. We're going to let you know, hey, we don't judge anyone. We want to give you a game plan. We want to make sure that you too can own a home or buy your next investment property. Let's make sure it cash flows, all that stuff. We want to make sure you're prepared, and we're taking in all these things into consideration. If you're going to a bank and they're only asking you 3 questions and saying, go out there and hunt for a house, I would be very leery because they're not doing the deep dive and they're setting you up for failure later on. And that's the last thing that we want to do here.
Yeah, we don't want to just put you into house so we can collect our commission. And then in 2 years, you end up not being able to make your house payment, and now you're losing the house. That's not our goal. Our
Ever.
goal is for you to be happy and you refer us to your friends and family. That's our goal.
Amen to that. Credit score. Once again, don't do anything from 3 to 500 normally. But a lot of folks think, oh my gosh, I've got to be 800 or higher. And that's simply not true. I would say that I average around 720 for conventional loans. FHA and VA, though, 640 to 620. And so there's a lot of folks that maybe they missed that credit card payment on accident. Maybe they set it up for auto pay. As an example, this happened to me and a client this week. He'd set his card up for auto pay, so he thought. Turns out that wasn't the case. We were able to get him to my credit repair team, who looks at your credit report for free, cleans it up for you for free, and then sends you back to me. So he went from a 620 to a 740 within about 48 hours. It's what they call a rapid rescore. And that's something that we specialize in as well. So just because you're at a 620 today doesn't mean that we can't get that score up pretty quickly. But if you don't have that game plan in front of you and you're just trying to throw random money at things to hope that score goes up, that's something that misinformation and not having that game plan is costing you a lot more than you think, from the standpoint of, let's make sure we're spending every penny wisely, because we don't have to spend it on something. Let's not do that. Let's move forward with what you have score wise. And I'll even walk you through what your options are if your score were to go up. So we want to prepare you there, but we work with every single credit type. I mean, we do have banks that go down to the 400s, and that's a lot tougher loan process. In full transparency, there's a lot more letters to write, but it is something that is possible if the situation's right. And so once again, please make sure that you are booking an appointment with us to go over your unique situation now, so we can give you that game plan. I'm ready for the next one, Laura. Types of mortgages: conventional, fixed rate, adjustable, government backed. Conventional loans are just what it says, conventional, if you will. It's your stock standard. It's what everybody thinks of as the 20% down program. Actually, we go 3% down these days. There's even a 1% down out there for folks that qualify in particular income categories. But we have down payment assistance to technically go to 100% financing. So there are caveats. There's no free lunch in the mortgage world, is what I tell people. So you're going to be paying for that down payment assistance in some form or fashion. It's either going to be a second mortgage or it's going to be a grant program, and there's stipulations to all that. And so I understand the attraction to down payment assistance, but I'm going to walk you through all of your options, whether it's 100% financing, or if we can just get a gift from a family member or a friend for the minimum 3%. That interest rate is going to be so much better for you. But I will present you with every option available in your area once again. Fixed rate mortgages versus adjustable. A lot of people are terrified of the word adjustable. And I would be too, unless I'm moving out of the area in a certain, this is something that traditionally, if you know you're going to be selling, if you know you're just going to be there for a short time, a lot of my military members that PCS from station to station is a great example. They're only going to be in town for 3 years. And, so that adjustable rate is going to be a 5-year fixed term up front. So it's not going to change at all for the first 5 years. Well, they're going to sell the home in 4. So that adjustable rate's a little bit lower than your fixed rate traditionally. So they're trying to get the lowest payment, the most affordable home possible at the end of the day. Jumbo loans are just like it says. Jumbo loan, you're going basically over the conforming loan limit of whichever county you're located in. A lot of the times people think I've got to have a ton of money down for a jumbo. We've got options that are as little as 10% down. And then we even have banks that will accept a second mortgage as far as part of a down payment. I've got banks that do ag loans. I've got land loans. I've got manufactured homes, single wides, double wides. Heck, Brad Simpson, we're helping his son right now, but his son's buying a multi-wide. Brad bought a multi-wide. I just helped Brad refinance his multi-wide. And so, this is something that we want to walk you through all of your options, but you've got a ton of them. And so don't be a stranger. Please, in the chat, if you've got a question, please let me know at the end of the day, because we want to make sure all these are answered. We're just trying to keep this casual, interactive as possible. Here's a great example right here. At the end of the day, this should bust a lot of those myths. You're going to get a copy of this slide, but we are looking at a down payment. Let's go right down that column, conventional, 3 to 5. And we have down payment assistance that covers the 3% to the 5%. So once again, technically it's 0%. So it's unique to your situation at the end of the day. But we've got USDA, VA, 0% down. Jumbo loans, there's your 10%. But these are all things, and we're going to go through each individual section with you all in your situation. I'm not going to bore you with every single percentage here, but just know that your options are vast. These documents, this is a real high level, but this is all stuff that you should have access to, obviously. Photo ID, last couple months of bank statements. If we need a down payment, we have closing costs to pay. That all we're not going line item by line item. We're not looking at every single transaction. We're looking at what is the balance over the last 60 days to make sure you've got the funds that we need to get the deal done. That's it. Tax returns for the last couple of years. If you are self-employed, if you have rental properties already, all these things we're going to look at up front. We're not going to wait until you're under contract and then bring in a big surprise for you saying, oops, should have looked at that document a lot sooner. Sorry, can't get this one. These are all things that we do prior to pre-approval. When I give you that pre-approval, it's the equivalent of Willy Wonka's golden ticket, because I've looked at all these documents already. We know this stuff's going to go through, and we're confident with the monthly payment. That way you're confident. That way you're feeling excited once again. All of this stuff, though, is all information. I'm going to walk through your situation with you. We're going to go over it multiple times so we have what we need. And I'm here every step of the way. Laura can attest to that.
Absolutely.
Probably my favorite slide here, do's and don'ts. Just because you would be surprised how many people, once they get under contract and they're not closed yet, go out and buy furniture on a credit card. And that could take you out of the qualification line. So this is all stuff we want to stay current on your existing accounts. If you ever have a bank or a credit card company tell you to not make a payment, definitely ask them why and keep digging and continue to make your payments, is what I tell people. Because the left hand doesn't talk to the right, and the credit bureaus are getting 90-day lates racked up one after the other. And your score goes from 800 to 520 in a matter of days, for that matter. So continue to make your payments. Definitely call us if you're getting ready to make a new purchase, a large purchase. Life happens, right? So if you're getting that new car, you've got to have it, and that's your only transportation from point A to point B, that's fine. But call us first to make sure it fits within your parameters still, to where it doesn't take you out of the house hunt. The last thing we want to ever do is put somebody on the street because we just didn't have the conversation. So definitely just be mindful of finances during this exciting time. And then really the next steps, like I said, we keep it really casual. Pre-qualification first. Please book an appointment with us. Please use the link. We're going to follow up with you to get to know you and your unique situation. I can't wait to meet each and every single one of you. And I know Laura and Cheryl can say the same, but we're going to work towards that pre-approval, get you on a house hunt, and hopefully be working with you very soon. I think these reviews speak for themselves, Laura, but
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing.
yep. Yep. And like I said, please make sure you book a time and a slot, guys. Please put any other questions in the chat, and we're going to follow up on those individual questions with you after this webinar. But I just want to thank each and every single one of you for joining us this evening, and we'll be in touch soon.
Okay, so I said that we would go over a couple questions. I know Paul had a
Love it.
question, but I think he had to scoot. But it was still a good question. First-time home buyer. He's on 1099, no W-2s. Need help finding path forward, looking for home within 30 minutes of Marietta. So, did you talk about the 1099?
Yeah, so the good old fashioned rule of thumb is traditionally 1099, you're viewed as almost self-employed by the bank. And so traditionally to your history. Until recently, I have a couple of banks that are now doing, you can go from W-2 to 1099 and only be 1099 for a single month, as long as you have an accountant that is willing to work on a profit and loss statement to show us what the projected expenses are versus what money you're making. You actually do have a path, and I can't wait to follow Paul on that. Great question, because traditionally, to your history, especially if you walk into the big banks, the big four, but we've got banks now that we definitely can move forward. There is going to be a down payment on that, and we'll talk, more specifically with you and your unique situation. But there is a way forward on that, so definitely can make that happen.
Okay, great. So Jennifer has a question, and she says that she was working on pre-approval and she wasn't approved for a whole lot, but she is in the process of earning some more money soon. And she just wanted to know what all of her options were for single mom, first-time buyer.
Future employment's a huge one. That's a great question. Thank you for that, because a lot of banks are going to say, well, this is all you're making now, and that's what we're looking at. I actually have banks that as long as you're making that income that we can verify with someone, right? So your new employer is a great example. If you're getting ready to change jobs, but it's within the same industry, you're obviously trying to progress and get a raise and all of that stuff. We're going to take all that in consideration. And we can actually use the new income and close the loan prior to you starting that new job. That's another thing that's really cool is with a wider array of options. That is something that I'd have to look at your unique situation, which I can't wait to do so. But it is something that we definitely work with. If you have future income, we take it into consideration when other banks don't.
And that's all the questions for now. So if anyone else has any questions, book a link and we
Perfect.
will set an appointment with you. And that's pretty much it for this evening. We want to thank
Perfect.
everyone for showing up this evening. Colt?
Thank you all. I cannot wait to speak to each and every one of you. And thank you for taking the time. This is the first step. And like I said, I hope you'll all be next. We'll be in touch and you all have a wonderful evening. Thanks again, Laura and Cheryl.
Yeah, have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
All righty. Thank
Night.
you. Bye bye.